Assalamu alaikum guys. I've got some news in today. Just come in about America attacking Iran. Let's get into it.
The Guardian is reporting that we might use a nuke on Iran. What? Why would we do that? Because they say if we don't, the Iranians might develop a nuke at a later time. And nukes are so dangerous, we have to make sure to prevent anyone from using it. That's why we're using it. Wait, what? Are you guys insane? And apparently they are insane. So when the White House was asked about it, they say, hey, we're not taking any options off the table. Yeah, you should take that one way off the table. It makes no sense at all. They're saying destroying the Fordo facility with bunker busters are going to be very difficult. And so the Israelis, as always, are unsatisfied and demand that we do more and we destroy more. So apparently not off the table. That is absolutely insane. Trump has set a deadline of 2 weeks to make this decision on whether he attacks Iran and how he attacks Iran and whether he's going to drag us into Israel's war.
All right, so now that the United States has carried out strikes against targets inside of Iran, we need to be on the lookout for their response. And there's a couple key areas to watch for here. Notably, 2 key Iranian proxies in the last few days have come out publicly and said if the United States attacks Iran, we will attack the United States. So there's 3 key components right now. First off, the IRGC inside of Iran just issued a statement a few moments ago saying now the war begins. Moving over to Yemen, the Houthis, where there is a ceasefire between the United States and the Houthis, they put out a statement earlier today saying that if the United States attacks Iran, they will begin attacking U.S. ships in the Red Sea. We should probably expect that to kick off in the next 12 to 24 hours. Moving to the militias, mostly in Iraq, Kataib Hezbollah is a large one, arguably the most well-equipped of the Iranian-backed militias in the region. They, too, issued a warning yesterday, actually, saying if the United States enter this war, we will begin attacking U.S. assets. So U.S. military bases throughout the region likely on high alert right now. Additionally, we should probably expect Iran to fire some short or medium-range ballistic missiles at U.S. strategic interests in the region. Very similar to what they did after Soleimani was killed a few years back. They don't want this to come just from their proxy forces and just from the others, but to show that they still have the ability to strike back and respond to what they're referring to as U.S. aggression. So look for drones, rockets, maybe some missiles from the Houthis down in Yemen, Kataib Hezbollah, and other militias in Iraq, and then probably some direct responses from Iran as well.
I was hoping that this administration would not do that. I don't think that this strike will in any way, well, at least permanently end Iran's nuclear program. They'd already moved much of the relevant material out of their nuclear sites. I don't think this will lead for the Iranians to sue for peace. So it's now in the Iranians' hands. The Iranian leadership that exists at about 10.
I'm just gonna pause it here and say that it doesn't make any sense. Their own intelligence, American intelligence, say that there's no evidence that points at Iran is making a bomb. But as you seen in my yesterday video, that Donald Trump is saying that his intelligence is wrong. American intelligence is wrong. What can you do? They want a war, they want to start a war. Let's get into it.
Days ago would have been relatively prudent and not rush to attack U.S. forces. I think that's still the case. I think an immediate widespread attack on U.S. forces in the region is unlikely, but I think the probability of a wider escalation and continuation of this war is greater now than it was a few hours ago. Whatever form of Iranian government survives, whether it's this one or a more nationalist, a more militarized one, or whether this regime in fact stays in power, they're not necessarily more likely to give up their nuclear program. So if President Trump thinks this will cause the Iranians to sue for peace and give up their nuclear energy program, I don't see that happening. But again, there's just so much that's unknown. President Trump obviously is seeing intelligence that I don't, and so decided to roll the dice. The question now is, does Israel stop bombing? I mean, I saw some Israeli sources saying they consider the nuclear program eliminated. But what's nuclear's war goal? What is Israel trying to get out of this? They're not just trying to end Israel's nuclear program. They're also trying to, as they've admitted, destabilize the current Iranian government.
America has sent warships to Iran, and they might be about to go to war. Today, satellite pictures showed that the US is sending their aircraft carrier, the USS Nimitz, and the other warships that are with it to the Persian Gulf. And something important, these warships and the aircraft carrier were actually in the South China Sea, near China. So it's a really big deal that the US is prioritizing Iran over China, and it suggests that something might be about to happen. And to add to that, there is already another US aircraft carrier and strike group fleet in the Persian Gulf, the USS Carl Vinson. So this is going to be the second aircraft carrier strike group in the Persian Gulf. And of course, I'm sure you've heard by now, but this comes at the same time the US President Trump has approved plans for the US to attack Iran to help defend Israel. Although something that is worth knowing, since the US redirected this aircraft carrier fleet from China to Iran, the US has delayed those plans to attack Iran, but only by 2 weeks. But coincidentally, it's actually also going to take 2 weeks for this aircraft carrier fleet to arrive in Iran, which means a lot of people are saying the US is just waiting for this aircraft carrier to arrive before they carry out attacks on Iran. Of course, though, we'll have to wait and see what happens. I personally think the US is just doing this to intercept Iranian missiles that are being launched at Israel. I actually don't think...
Hey, this is all planned. He was trying to prolong the conversation that, you know, Iran get into the nuclear deal and whatnot, you know what I mean, get into discussions and stuff like that, you know what I mean, come to the table and stuff, you know, let's end the nuclear program and everything, no enriching uranium at all. That's what the Israelis said. But what can you do, you know, and these people are just crazy. There's something wrong with these lot. You know, they wanted to start this war. They prolonged this already 2 weeks. That's what Donald Trump said. In 2 weeks, that, you know, we're going to make a decision to rather interfere or not. So this is just a bluff for the aircraft carriers to come into the missile range, you know.
Hey Hassan, welcome to a Zateo live town hall on Saturday night. I'm in a hotel room in a different time zone to treat a pastor who's here from the Quincy Institute, author of multiple books on Iran, an expert on the country. Donald Trump has bombed Iran, as some of us feared he would. Tonight, the anti-war president, the America First president, bombed, I believe, Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordo, the underground mountain facility. He says American planes are on their way back. Let's just see what else he says. If you haven't seen his piece, he says, "We've completed our very successful attack. A full payload of bombs was dropped on Fordo. Our planes are on their way home. Congratulations to our American warriors." He says, "Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter," in that weird way that he talks. Bombing through peace. Trita, what is your immediate reaction to this? Did you see this coming?
My immediate reaction to this is that Donald Trump has guaranteed that Iran will be a nuclear weapons state in 5 to 10 years from now. And it will particularly be the case if the regime changes. And I say that because I find it more likely that the regime change that at some point will happen in Iran, of course, given the unpopularity of this regime, will go in a much more aggressive nationalistic direction, particularly after a bombing of this kind. We saw, for instance, after the Israelis also had a very successful raid against Osirak in Iraq in 1981, if I'm not mistaken. Saddam Hussein quadrupled his nuclear budget and pushed much, much faster towards nuclear weapon. And even though initially it was viewed as a successful raid, after a while, the non-proliferation consensus was that this actually made the situation much worse and would have led to Iraq becoming a full-scale.
So I'm going to pause it again and say that, you know, what's stopping from Iran getting nuclear weapons now? You know, they've been following everything by the books and still they don't believe him. You know, what other option do they have? You know, use the nuclear, make the nuclear bomb as a deterrent so no one can attack them, like the US or Iran, Israel can't attack them. We already know that both of them have a nuclear anyway, you know, but it doesn't prevent them from attacking regardless, but conquering or occupying them like what they're doing in Gaza, you know.
nuclear power had it not been for 2 or 3 additional wars that took place after that. And those were full-scale invasions.
Yes, his invasion of Kuwait, which of course led to the bombing and invasion of Iraq in 1991 and beyond. This is an interesting moment.
Iran is deeply condemning the U.S.'s strikes on several of its nuclear installations. The country's Atomic Energy Agency has come out and called the strikes a savage assault. They also say that it goes against international law, and the Atomic Energy Agency also vows to not let Iran's nuclear program be stopped by these strikes. They also accuse the International Atomic Energy Agency of complicity in all of this. Now, Iranian officials took quite a while to come out and confirm that strikes had actually taken place on these facilities. It was then local officials in the area of Qom, where the Fordo nuclear installation is located, and in the Isfahan province, where the Isfahan nuclear installation and also the Natanz nuclear enrichment facility are located, to come out and say that there were what they call intrusions into the airspace near those facilities. They also said that air defenses in both of these facilities had been activated, but explosions in those facilities took place. Now, the Iranians have not yet come out and confirmed the extent of the damage or if any damage was done to these nuclear facilities. They have not said so yet. It appears as though the Iranians are still trying to assess the damage that happened there. One of the things that we've been seeing in the evening hours is air defenses here over the Iranian capital, Tehran, very much active. There were also some thuds that we heard, which could have come from airstrikes, but that is unclear. But we did see a lot of those bursts in the air, especially from anti-aircraft guns. That's something that we've been seeing over the past couple of days, but which was pronounced much more so in the past night. The Iranians have, of course, warned that any sort of strikes by the United States could bring severe retaliation on the part of the Iranians. Of course, in the past, they have said that they do control a lot of militias here in the region that are loyal to Iran, that are on Iran's side, and many of which are near U.S. bases in the Middle East. Nevertheless, the Iranians have never really defined what exactly retaliation could be.
That's it for today, guys. If you're new to the channel, please like, share, subscribe. Assalamu alaikum.